traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. That's the signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone.
It's the Wilk Report. I'm Michael Wilk, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, with a review of yet another entirely lackluster episode of Jordan Peele's The Twilight Zone, which, again, has the same problem that the entire season so far has had.
It insists upon itself.
Exactly. It insists upon itself. Where it keeps clubbing you over the head with its messaging, and that there's no subtlety to it, there's no grace to it. All right, so yeah, this is episode 8, Point of Origin. And again, it's just ham-handed and beats you over the head with its messaging. This time, it's an allegory for the immigration and deportation debate, which has been inflamed under Caligula Drumpf, which, and you know, again, it's a message that needs to be heard by a wider audience, but the way that it's delivered just leaves so much to be desired, because, so you've got Jennifer Goodwin playing a sort of really creepy looking and behaving Stepford wife type, upper class housewife. We open where there's this party being planned, and Jennifer Goodwin's character is asked by her housekeeper, played by Sabrina Guevara, if her grandson can list her house as his address so he can attend a charter school, and Jennifer Goodwin's character says yeah, and then suddenly Homeland Security shows up and takes the housekeeper away, and of course Jennifer later is shown with her female friends, and they're all sitting around the table and talking about those people, and very, very blatant racism going on here, from the upper class, which actually does take place in real life, so it's not like this isn't actually a thing. But then Jennifer Goodwin's character is hauled away by Homeland Security because, as it turns out, she's actually a refugee from an alternate dimension. Yeah. And so she's subjected to the same treatment as, her circle of friends used to give the hired help. And I mean, it's kind of like if you saw the Twilight Zone movie back in the early 80s, where Vic Morrow plays the racist who finds himself thrust into situations where he's experiencing history through the perspective of the people white people have been bombing or oppressing throughout history. Like, so he's thrown into the Vietnam War, where the American soldiers see him as a Viet Cong and they start shooting at him, and they finally ends up on a train bound for Auschwitz because he's seen as a Jew by the Nazis. And this episode obviously is it's basically a replay of that, but with the white female protagonist who is suddenly thrust into the situation of, okay, now she's experiencing what it's like to be deported and treated like subhuman scum by white people. So, which again, it wouldn't be so bad if the episode were actually written well and actually didn't talk down to you, but it does. And, again, this is the problem that we've been seeing on everything from STD to now the new Batwoman show to Twilight Zone, and it's just,
It insists upon itself.
yeah. And I keep saying this because it does. It insists upon itself and its own wokeness, and it's like you're not allowed as a member of the audience to actually enjoy the story because you're too busy having the messaging thrust upon you in a way that is condescending and talks down to you and treats you like a dummy who wouldn't be able to understand it if you didn't have it clubbed over the head. So, and I just wish that we would get, so, like I said, I mean, we're 8 episodes in now. I think episode 9 broadcast this week, but I gotta say, I'm really not inclined to come back for a second season on this, even though it's already been renewed for a second one by CBS. But I see no incentive to keep reviewing this show because it just keeps insulting my intelligence every episode almost. And like I said, the only 2 episodes I thought were any decent were Replay and 6 Degrees of Freedom, both of which were, they were better written, but that's not saying much compared to all the rest of the episodes, which were pretty much garbage or mediocre. So, yeah, I wanted to give this show a chance. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Twilight Zone. I like Jordan Peele's body of work, but Jordan Peele seems barely involved with it. He's basically just a host, and it seems like a replay of the 2002 revival where you just had Forrest Whitaker as a host, but it lacked Rod Serling's touch. It lacked the kind of devotion that a showrunner of this series really should have. And so we end up with these, and it's not like Jordan Peele and his team aren't trying, but they just, like I said in my last review, it's like they're trying too hard maybe, and making a lot of the same mistakes that the CW is making with Batwoman now, and that Captain Marvel made with Brie Larson, and all sorts of other stuff, because it's obvious that there's a lot of love for the original Twilight Zone here, unlike STD, where there's nothing but contempt for the source material that's being adapted. But again, we get the same problem where the writers just can't be bothered to have any subtlety, and it's like the article from the mashup that I cited for last time said, they just tell good stories with well-written characters and your messaging will come through naturally. And I think that's what they need to do here. Because so far, I mean, and again, this is a good concept. You address the problem of immigration and deportation and the lack of empathy that's given to immigrants. But again, you have to be able to tell the stories in a way that doesn't insult people's intelligence. I mean, never underestimate the intelligence or the maturity of your audience, okay? You can't keep treating people like moronic little children, is basically what I'm saying here. And we're not getting that from the writers. And I don't know if that's a mandate from CBS or if it's just the team that Jordan Peele had put together, but it's disappointing because I know he's capable of better, but we're not seeing it here. So yeah, I mean, the next episode is The Blue Scorpion, which is about an anthropology professor who finds this gun called the Blue Scorpion, and it becomes this very personal research project for him. So I'll give a review of that. But if it's anything like this, I just don't see any reason to review season 2, because if it's going to be as empty and devoid of Jordan Peele's personal touch as this season has been, I just feel that my reviewing abilities are better utilized towards shows that, even if I don't personally like them myself, but at least they're well written and respect my intelligence. So yeah, that's pretty much my opinion here. What do you think? Do you agree, disagree? Let me know in the comments section. I want to hear from you. If you like what you've heard and you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we upload new content. And if you want to help support the channel, keep the lights on, help us bring you more content, head over to our Patreon or Subscribestar page. We can't do this without you. Until next time when I review Cobra Kai Season 2, Episode 5, this is Michael Wilk for the Wilk Report saying, take care, good night, I'm out.